All right, good morning, all. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Troman, has anyone signed up for public comment? Thank you, Mr. Troman. All right, agenda item 3, no cases to reconsider. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Let's move then to agenda item 4, tax liability cases. No cases on docket 29, no fair housing, no child labor.
Correct.
Agenda item 7, we have no wage claim cases on docket 29 pulled for additional discussion.
That is correct. There are no wage claim cases pulled for additional discussion on docket 29, but you should have received the short form dissent list for the wage claims.
We'll move to accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 29.
I second the motion, except for those cases in which I am dissenting as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 29.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except in which I am dissenting as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 29.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Let's move to agenda item 8, in consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 29. Please proceed when you are ready.
Okay. Case number 1 is 3547431. Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant admitted to looking up information using the employer's equipment. The information that the claimant looked up pertained to an individual with whom the claimant had a personal connection. The claimant also stated that she was not responding to an active emergency. The employer testified at the AT hearing that its departmental policy prohibits the employee from using employer's equipment and or access to search information for personal gain. Given the circumstances, the claimant's actions of looking up information with someone with whom she had a personal connection constituted a violation of the employer's policy and mismanagement of the claimant's position of employment. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, stating misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is correct. The evidence established that the claimant resigned in lieu of discharge. Therefore, the work separation was involuntary. The employer's witness could not provide any specific reason why the claimant was subject to discharge. And the only incident referenced during the hearing occurred several months before the claimant's separation. Additionally, despite being granted a rehear for the purpose of providing further evidence to explain both the reasons for the claimant's discharge and any delay in the discharging of the claimant, the employer failed to appear for the rehear. The employer has failed to meet its burden of showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
No misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Short form dissent.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3566768. Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant providing a fact-finding statement which revealed that she received a lump sum severance payment on February 9th of 2023. This lump sum payment took place after the effective date of the claimant's initial claim. As such, the claimant should be disqualified from benefits for the sole week that she received the lump sum severance payment. As to the filing issue, the claimant was not prevented from filing her payment request due to circumstances beyond her control. Accordingly, the filing and eligibility should remain intact. We should therefore modify the AT decision, severance disqualification from February 5th, 2023 to February 11th, 2023, filing not eligible from February 19th through March 4th, 2023, recalculate overpayment.
The decision should be modified. I don't dispute that the claimant filed late payment requests for the benefit periods of 2/19 of 23 through 3/4 of 23. However, regarding the severance issue, the 8 weeks of severance pay the claimant received from the employer was specifically allotted to the period immediately following her separation from employment, from 11/11 of 22 through 1/6 of 23. Since this 8-week period was prior to the claimant's initial claim dated 2/5 of 23, the claimant is not subject to any disqualification based on the severance payment. Therefore, both the severance disqualification and the resulting overpayment should be reversed. Modify the AT, no disqualifying severance, no overpayment, filing ineligibility from 2/19 of 23 through 3/4 of 23.
Filing ineligible February 19, 2023 to March 4, 2023. No severance disqualification, recalculate overpayment.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat your vote, Mr. Chairman?
Filing ineligible February 19th, 2023 to March 4th, 2023. No severance, disqualification, recalculate the overpayment.
Short form dissent.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3600967, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was discharged for refusing to sign a write-up. However, the claimant testified that she never told or was never told that she would be discharged if she did not sign the write-up. The employer's testimony was not credible, and the claimant provided evidence that the only employer witness presented at the meeting had prior inappropriate conversations with the claimant, which the claimant had reported to the owner. The owner was not present during the meeting where the claimant was terminated and only participated in the meeting via phone. Since the claimant was subjected to inappropriate behavior by her manager, then was written up after reporting this behavior, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant was fired for her refusal to sign a write-up. Two employer witnesses testified that the claimant was notified her refusal to sign the warning would lead to a discharge. One of the employer witnesses also stated that signing the write-up was not an agreement to the contents therein, but only an acknowledgement of the receipt. As such, the claimant's refusal to follow instructions was misconduct connected with the work. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
No misconduct, chargeback.
So,
Case number 3601066, Commissioner Esparza.
the commission should rehear this case. First, I don't contest the good cause issue. Concerning the job separation, although the claimant alleged that she was terminated, the employer specified that the claimant voluntarily resigned when the employer did not accept the claimant's terms for continued employment. Since the circumstances surrounding the job separation were not adequately developed, and because the owner, a first-hand witness with information about the job separation, was not available to testify at the hearing, the commission should rehear this case to question the employer's additional witness and to further develop the record. The claimant established good cause for missing the AT hearing. Please rehear.
The AT decision is correct. Regarding the good cause issue, the claimant missed the AT1 hearing because her attorney was not available due to previously planned vacation at the time of the hearing. Therefore, the claimant had good cause for her failure to appear at AT1. Regarding the job separation, the claimant testified that she was discharged and offered severance pay after she reported to the owner that she had been sexually harassed by her direct supervisor and requested a raise. The employer alleged that the claimant quit, but confirmed that the claimant was offered severance pay and that the employer does not offer severance packages to employees who quit. Therefore, the evidence established that the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, claimant established good cause for AT1, no misconduct, chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case 3621061, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant resigned after her employer failed to address the harassment she reported experiencing from a coworker. The employer was made aware of the continuous bullying and the claimant was facing before she resigned. The coworker's actions made the claimant's working conditions intolerable, and the employer did not adequately address her repeated complaints about the situation. Therefore, the claimant had good cause connected with the work to quit due to the continued harassment that the employer failed to resolve. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, no overpayment.
We should affirm the AT decision. Although the claimant may have had some legitimate complaints when she brought them to the employer in the past, they took steps to address them. However, following her rehire, she worked for a couple of weeks and provided the employer with only 1 day's notice prior to quitting. This did not provide the employer with sufficient opportunity to remedy whatever new concerns she may have had. Thus, she quit without work-connected good cause. We ask to affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving and overpayment.
Voluntary leaving, overpayment.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Short form dissent.
Case number 3624153, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is correct as to the job separation. The claimant was discharged due to his inability to meet the employer's performance expectations. The claimant performed his job task to the best of his ability, but was unable to improve his performance, even though he received additional training. Therefore, the claimant's inability to meet the employer's standards was not misconduct connected with the work. Since the claimant should remain qualified for benefits, the adequate response decision was included in error and should be voided. Modify the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
We should modify the AT decision. The claimant was not working to the best of his ability. The employer testified that the claimant spent a long time on his phone browsing the internet and just sitting at his desk not working. The claimant acknowledged that the employer spoke to him about these issues, yet the claimant did not deny his behavior. Because the claimant's lack of effort and attention to his work resulted in continued poor performance, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3625918, Commissioner Trevino.
The claimant's continued claim involved her work for a gig economy employer in self-employment. As such, there is no separation from employment, and the continued claim that was dated June 17th of 2023 should be voided. Void the continued claim, set aside the AT decision, and set aside the job separation determination.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant provided several different reasons for quitting work with the named employer. Since all the reasons were personal in nature, the claimant quit without work-connected good cause. Affirm the AT decision of voluntary leaving.
Set aside the AT, void the continued claim.
Short form dissent.
I have your short form dissent. That was the last full case for docket 29. You should have received the short form dissent list for the UI cases.
Move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 29.
I second the motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 29.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 29.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. That brings us to the end of agenda items 1 through 8. We'll take a short recess.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're back. This is agenda item 9, funding for FY25, chapter 133, apprenticeship training.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Serna. For the record, Carrie Ballast, Workforce Development Division. At the July 2nd meeting, staff were asked to return with a discussion paper outlining use of Texas industry recognized apprenticeship grant program funds to supplement the Texas Education Code, Chapter 133, apprenticeship training program contact hour rate. The discussion paper in your notebook materials gives background on this topic and addresses the use of TIRA funds to achieve a consistent Chapter 133 contact hour rate for fiscal year 2025. This concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
I have a comment, Chairman. First of all, thank you, Gary. Thank you very much, you and your staff, and Mary, for all the information that they've provided to this. I know this is the second time it's come up. I don't have any questions to this, and Commissioner Trevino, I do want to support your initiatives as far as making sure that we do have some support for these programs. I still really, to me, this really kind of boils down to the intent of the legislative action that pushes this type of funding for Chapter 133. I understand it's in the same budget. It's allowable as transfer. But I feel the program was set up, because of the legislation that we just talked about. And these rules still really took effect in November, a few days after I showed up. So I apologize for that learning curve. I really feel that the TIRA program needs just more support, promotional. We need to find good avenues, and hopefully after those avenues take hold, employers will be using this program. If it's not, I feel it's at the direction of the legislature to amend it and to care for it or snuff it out if it's their choosing. I feel that we are the ones that enact. Obviously, we enact what the legislature provides. So I can't support the precedent of using these funds to become a budget mechanism for sustaining the registered apprenticeship program in the future. So again, I respectfully, I'm going to decline to support.
A fair point. I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Why is there TIRA money available?
What we've discovered in this first year is that there are some parts of the legislation that employers are pausing on and a little concerned about. For example, the way TIRA is currently established, the apprentice would need to go through up to 26 weeks of employment and then a year of training and then a year's worth of employment before the employer would be eligible for reimbursement. That tends to disrupt comfort levels for some of our employers who would like there to be milestones along the way. So for example, once training is completed, possibly a reimbursement at that point. Another point maybe along in the employment, and then another at the end of the actual grant period itself. That seems to be one. I think also just as a matter of a large initiative, as you know, you go through a year of rule development, you begin outreach, and you just begin to raise awareness of a new initiative. We certainly are seeing much more interest, but not in time to spend all funds for this current fiscal year.
So the current fiscal year we're in, about how much funds were available at the beginning of the fiscal year for TIRA?
Just about a little less than 10 million.
And how much do we anticipate that we will have obligated by the end of this fiscal year?
If everything goes well, if we can get a few of these applications through, we're looking at roughly 3.6 million that we could obligate between now and August 31.
So that leaves about 5.4 million, 6.4 million, somewhere in there.
Yes, sir.
Call it 6 million for just our conversation here today. So the 6 million, would it roll forward into the next fiscal year?
Yes, sir, it will.
So then there'd be 16-ish million available, assuming everything went according to plan.
So is there opportunity in this next legislative session to amend the points that we're seeing? That's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yes,
make it easier for the door to, make.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. So
okay.
Yeah, I think
my
definitely.
apologies, Chairman. I know you like your words.
No, they're for everyone. That's why I talk.
That's right.
I think this commission needs to do a couple things relative to the legislative session, and I do appreciate you bringing up this point. I think there's this particular issue that employers have raised with TIRA, and I think it's a legitimate issue. I think there's some other timing issues in TIRA that are a legitimate issue. There's a 26-week policy in there. I think it's limiting for some certain apprenticeship programs. The reason some of these things are in there is because this was originally written as in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, and it was designed to put people in the field quickly.
Yeah.
But we've evolved past that in terms of the Texas workforce, and so I think this commission and soon needs to take up that in terms of a legislative proposal for the legislature to consider to make some changes to TIRA based on our experience running those. And additionally, you know, I think I've gathered just through our conversation up here, because we don't actually get to talk about this other than on Tuesdays, but you know, we 100% are at a place where I think we really should consider an exceptional item request on our LAR for the Chapter 133 apprenticeships. I think it has shown, despite some lackluster performance for the previous 5 years, I think the last 24 months have shown that work that Carrie and Desi and others have been doing in terms of outreach and making this program useful for people. They did that. And so now we don't have enough money to run the program in a way that we would like to run the program. And so we have a couple options of serve less people. I'm not necessarily interested in serving less people, or get a funding increase. But to your point, Commissioner Esparza, only the legislature can do that. So, you know, I think that needs to be part of the conversation. I've not been in any way reserved about suggesting that running all of this under the umbrella of Apprenticeship Texas is probably good for the program. And I would highly anticipate that whatever, you know, tactics that Carrie and Desi and that team use to build up 133, I highly suspect that over time and with probably some policy tweaks that we can do the same thing relative to TIRA, so that we have, frankly, a program that's good for federally registered apprenticeship programs, if that's appropriate, or a state program, if that's also more appropriate. So I think we've got some decision points ahead of us that can make a big difference in the program. I'm not in any way trying to minimize your concern about the funds. You know, I fall down on the side of I'd rather spend the funds on an apprenticeship effort than lapse those funds or take the risk of lapsing those funds. I would also say, unless Commissioner Trevino disagrees, that, you know, we would move to the TIRA pool of money last when we were making up what we feel like could be some shortfalls on the $4 an hour contact hour rate. So maybe we don't spend the whole $1 million. You know, maybe we do. It's going to depend on demand. But as we're building this, you know, same line item, same mode of operation in the budget, same everything. You know, I'm more comfortable with it than you. I'm not in any way minimizing your concern. I think it's a legitimate concern. I think were they not in the same exact pool of money in the budget, I'd probably have a completely different feeling. But, you know, my understanding of the state budget and how it works, I think we're on fairly certain ground here. I would not feel the same way if we were moving this to a non-apprenticeship kind of activity. It would be a completely different conversation if that were the case. I'll be real honest with you. You know, I would be looking at pre-apprenticeship funds the same way we're looking at the TIRA funds today, if those were not being spent. You know, I think we're building an overall package here. I don't think it's growing kind of equally. I think we have to balance our dollars across the growth. I've thought long and hard about what the intent of the legislature was with the money. My conclusion at the end of the day is we want a good, strong program. I think it's justifiable. I'm on the other side of the fence of you on this one, but I do want to say publicly, I think your concerns are very well founded, very well articulated. And I think under different circumstances, I'd probably agree with you. But I think here you've just got this kind of sequence of events that have occurred. And I think this is a good and useful tool for us to continue to build our overall effort, because I do think that the things that we've done relative to 133 will ultimately prove to be good growth strategies for TIRA. And I think we've got a chance to do that. You know, your opposition to it's certainly well understood and appreciated. I think you've made a great point. I don't mean to cut you out of the conversation.
That's okay.
I mean, Joe and I can talk all the rest of the day, but
no, I mean, I agree with you, Chairman, and I do see your valid point, Commissioner. And this is just we have been talking to staff about the exceptional items for future 133, but applaud staff for how they found this money to, as a last resort, but it's just a bridge for 2025, not to be a precedent or anything that's going to be continuing. And it could also maybe help to jumpstart the tire and make it more out there so that employers know that it is available. So I think that's what it is. If that lays some of your concerns about it being a precedent, it's just for a bridge for 2025.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think last 2 years, I'd say the last 2 years, I think we've been able to really translate some 133 success into some more tire success. But I look at even past kind of the apprenticeship efforts proper. We were just talking. Commissioner Esparza was telling me that he had to travel this week to attend an event, and the event is Noble Texas Builders in the Valley. It's the kickoff event, I think, for their teacher externship program. But like when we think about what so many employers across the state have done relative to teacher externships, and as this is related to this overall apprenticeship effort, pre-apprenticeship efforts will be part of this. And I look at the job openings in these types of jobs. These are skilled trade jobs. You don't have to go to the university, but you're going to have the equivalent of a university education. I mean, apprenticeship and any avenue that leads to those apprenticeships, it's just good business. It's good business for the employer, and it's good business for the people who are trying to get those licenses. And so whether it's the externship that leads you to the pre-apprenticeship that leads you to that, or a teacher just guides you in the right direction when you're a freshman in high school through the correct CTE courses, this whole effort and the gains that this agency has made relative to this whole effort is good. This is a good and healthy debate. I think it's definitely a legitimate debate. At the end of the day, I think the vote's unanimous in the sense of we're very proud of what our staff has done relative to helping people get these good paying jobs. I think we all do still agree on that if we're not going to agree on today's vote, which is perfectly understandable. Any further comments, any further questions?
None here.
I'm voting aye. Commissioner Trevino, I assume you're voting aye.
Yes.
We'll get the motion on the table. So go ahead and put the motion on the table.
Okay. I move we approve the addition of $1 million to the Texas Industry Recognized Apprenticeship Funds to the fiscal year 2025 Chapter 133 Apprenticeship Training Program budget as described in the discussion paper and presented today by staff.
I second the motion. Any further comments?
No comments. I will said no comments, but I apologize.
That's okay.
I do support the amounts previously that we approved on the January July 2nd. Health, I think it was all healthcare and the DOL expansion. So I mean, there's that too. So but, yeah, my vote is no.
Let me just take a point of personal privilege here. This commission over time, there have been iterations of this commission where debate was discouraged at the commission meetings, dissenting votes were discouraged at the commission meetings. I don't think that's necessary. This was a very respectful process. We respected the process. I think there's a great deal of respect for the commission. Next week, you and Commissioner Trevino may agree on something that I don't agree on. And I think as long as we can maintain an atmosphere where we can come and debate that and continue the work of the commission, I don't anticipate that we're always going to agree about everything. I appreciate you bringing your concerns. I think you articulated them well. I don't think it's ever disrespectful if we don't like something to speak up and say, hey, I don't like that. Let me tell you why I don't like that. We get a lot better results from this commission when we take the time to take our jobs that seriously. I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate you bringing the issue, and I appreciate your patience in letting Commissioner Esparza get all the information that he needed to study this. I think it's been a great process. I hope we can duplicate this in the future when we need to.
I agree.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Cerna, I have noticed that Lowell has stopped wearing a tie to commission meetings when he thinks that I might call on him for a legislative report. I just want the record to reflect that this is the third meeting in a row he has not had a tie on to avoid having to report on legislative issues across the street.
It seems to be an effective tactic.
Until today, it was working really good for him. So Is there an executive director's report today?
One very quickly, actually two items. First off, I want to make sure that the commission knows that the agency did apply for disaster unemployment assistance funding or grant extra funding because of first, all the flooding, the severe storms and flooding that we had in East Texas, and then most recently for Hurricane Beryl. Most of that funding, the huge lion's share of that funding was for additional benefits. With regard to the severe storms, we really only asked for about $57,000 for administration, about $408,000 initially, and then later just under $1 million. For Hurricane Beryl, we submitted a request on the 3rd for about $57,000 in administrative support or funding, but $936,000 for actual benefits. So we will continue to do that on a very quick basis. I know this is kind of an after the fact report, but because these things happen very quickly, especially with a disaster, we try to get the funding as quickly as possible. In case you're wondering why we didn't ask for more, we were advised that on our initial requests, DOL told us it's always better to come in under $1 million, then the approval process moves faster. And then when you're supplemental, you can ask for a higher amount because you've already gone through the process. But if you ask for an amount higher than that initially, then it gets bogged down in the bureaucracy of Washington. The second thing I want to report is along the same lines. I'm not going to go into any details, but we are seeing, of course, with the claims coming in because of the two disasters, we do anticipate and are seeing some additional fraud coming in, some attempts at fraud. Our processes are addressing those. We will add additional processes to address those. We have heard anecdotally that on some of the social media sites that individuals are being encouraged to apply for unemployment insurance benefits, and they're comparing these benefits or what, quote, is available to you for Beryl and the floods to what was available during the pandemic, which is not the case. These are completely different benefits that are strictly unemployment benefits, not support benefits. We believe that that's just the fraudsters trying to flood our system so that they can kind of sneak in as well. But we have tools in place and we'll implement additional tools to continue to prevent that. It's a priority for us while we are still trying to get the money to those people that deserve it and need it as quickly as possible. And with that, that's all I have for my executive director's report.
All right. Any other order of business come before the commission?
I'm here.
No, Chairman.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn, and we are adjourned.